and a bad trade. What do you call a good trade? And what do you call a bad trade? So, first of all, let's predict this market move for today. So let's draw our supports and resistance, assuming we are using support and resistance lines. So let's draw our turning points. Okay, we'll start with the support lines. Okay, this will be our support. So we are using the daily support. Okay, let me draw another one to indicate the resistance. You know, support is below and resistance is above. Okay, so this will be our resistance. So let's go to H1 time frame to see it better. Okay, you can see it. Okay, let's go to lower time frames. Okay, on H1, let's still, this is a turning point, but we can also still drag down the resistance to this point. Let's see what happens on M15 time frame. Okay, now okay, let's drag down the support line to this point for H1. Okay, now how do you judge a good trade? Assuming you are using support and resistance to trade, or whatever trading strategy you are using. A good trade is that trade that you saw your setup, you were patient enough to wait for your setup was clean enough, even if not 100% clean, at least 95% of what you were expecting, because most times your setup will show, but it will not be 100%. So a good trade is that trade where you entered, you followed your trade plan. A good trade is not necessarily a trade where you make profit, because you don't judge the outcome of your trade with 1 or 2 trades. You judge it with net profit, let's say at the end of the week, when you have taken up to 7 or 10 trades, and at the end of the day, that is where you can judge your trade. But when you say you had a good trade to a professional, is when your setup showed and you followed it. Okay, assuming I'm using support and resistance to trade here. Now, when this market comes to this support zone 1.2379 and the price refuses to break this zone, and I buy and I set my stop loss below this support zone, I might take profit few pipes, like 25 pipes above this zone. And that was my original plan. Whether the trade failed or it entered, whether the trade hit stop loss or take profit, that is a very, very good trade. Reason being that was my initial plan. So before you can judge a trade, one, you must have a plan beforehand of what to do, what kind of setup you are to enter, what setup you are expecting, what strategy you are using to trade, what you are expecting to see, then your take profits and your stop loss. So by the time that happens and it is clean to your satisfaction and you enter, that is what you call a good trade. So A good trade is not one where you necessarily make profits, though profit is part of it, but you don't judge a good trade based on profit, because in the forex market you can randomly buy or randomly sell and still make profit. That does not make a good trader, because it will just take one or two mistakes for you to blow that account. So that is the difference between a good trade and a bad trade. A bad trade now is one where your setup, something that looks like your setup should, but it is not very clean, or you are trading emotionally in order to cover up for a loss. In forex, when you buy or sell, there are two possibilities. No matter how clean your setup is, there are two possibilities. But at the end of the day, if your profit is greater than your loss, that is what tells you that your strategy is okay. So that is how you judge a good trade, because at every point you can either buy or sell. But a good trade is that which what you did according to your plan. That is a perfect trade. Then when you take a good trade and it goes against you, you should compensate or celebrate yourself. So that is the difference between a good trade and a bad trade. Not judged based on profit, but based on your trade plan. So that is it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on other YouTube and follow me on other social media channels.